Hello, this is Evan Rogerson, 9 Gang here, and I'm back today as there is now another game manual update. Came out about 3 hours as of the time of recording. I'm going to go through, break down the update, same thing as always. Be sure to like and leave a comment about what your thoughts are on the game manual in order to please the YouTube algorithm, and let's go ahead and get into it. So, starting off with, they added some nice labels of audience view to some diagrams. Really nothing interesting there other than that clarified some stuff. All right, moving on to some next stuff. This is actually interesting. It affects gameplay. They have added a definition for climb. Same thing as before. I will have the new version of the game manual on the left side. You can see that is 2.1. And I will have the older version. This is 2.0 on the right side, just to make it really easy to compare and contrast, see the differences between the two versions. So, in order to be considered climbing, a robot has to be intentionally grasped, grabbed, or attached to the black part of the rung or somewhere higher up on it. So, this kind of, I think, makes it a little bit more interesting because as soon as you grab onto the ladder, you are now protected. The other robots can't go and like smash into you and stuff. So, I think it makes it a little bit easier to do some climbing, which is probably something the GDC has been wanting to do, make it easier for teams to hang. Now climbing is just a little bit easier because as soon as you grab onto part of the ladder, you are now safe from protection. So not huge, but makes climbing a little bit easier. Next part is some clarifications for scored on a stake. You can see they added these Roman numerals for 1 through 3 that were not there before. So basically just clarifying stuff that was in Q&As and putting it in the manual. So a ring can't be scored on multiple stakes. And then if there are multiple stakes on a ring, then there's no top ring for that. And then basically just clarifying this loophole, but I've never actually seen it happen, so not a huge important thing. Then next up, so in the last game manual update, I think I forgot to mention this, but they removed match loading because they made some changes to like, it's no longer a penalty to remove rings from the field. So obviously you don't want teams strategically removing a bunch of their rings from the field in order to then match load them later. So they just removed match loading. So it still used to say could reintroduce scoring objects to the field as described in rule SG4, but there wasn't anything in SG4 because they removed match loading, so now that's just gone over there. Just clarifying some stuff. A couple clarifications on possession with goals. I find this a little bit funny, like the red box. If the robot is carrying mobile goal, you can't manipulate other mobile goals until you put down the one you're carrying, period. Nice and straight to the point. I do like that sort of thing, so stay away from other goals if you're carrying a goal around. Just stay away from them. And then some purposes for match affecting. Kind of interesting. So a ring, if you like illegally score a ring while you're over the possession limit, it counts as 2 points. I'm guessing it's just because they kind of wanted to average out 1 and 3, make it easier for the referees. And then something that obviously a lot of teams don't like is only the winner's point should be considered for match affecting violations, which makes it harder for double DQs to happen. And I know this actually happened in Dome at Worlds, I believe, yeah, last year. Basically, what happened was both teams illegally double zoned, but the team that originally won the match, they ended up losing the match because their double zone was illegal. But if you had accounted for the fact that the other team's double zone was illegal, they still would have won the match. But the other team getting away with the illegal double zone actually didn't matter. So it was actually beneficial for the losing team to double zone a little bit illegally in order to win the game. And that's something that happened, and it changed the outcome of who won Worlds. So kind of a sucky rule in that regard. In the standard, if you do a violation in skills, it's an instant DQ unless you undo it. Next up is, this was the Q&A. So the low profile, high strength shaft colors, which I have a picture up pulled up down here, have different size screws than all the other ones. They also strip really easily, so I would not recommend buying these. So those screws, they are this type of screw, which previously wasn't like legal to just buy. So now you can buy the size of screws to replace these, although you don't have to use them solely for replacing these. You could use these smaller size screws anywhere else on your robot that you want, but not sure exactly what the point for that would be. Potentially you could use that for something like securing polycarb that you can drill your old holes into, but it's really not going to fit with any of the other Vex stuff because those screws are going to be way too small. So another small update, R27, basically just saying you need to use the competition template. And again, kind of a funny thing. So the old verbiage used to say, this will be tested in inspection. In other words, your firmware. I've been to a couple competitions where they'll lift up your robot. They'll make sure that your autonomous runs when they flip the switch. But most of the competitions I've been to don't actually test your firmware like that. And I think the GDC realized that most competitions don't actually do that. So they changed it from this will be tested in inspection to this may be tested during inspection. But really, it's mostly just to benefit the teams and ahead of time and making sure that their robots are actually responding to field control. Because I have been to plenty of tournaments in which some random middle school team that's never competed before shows up and their robot doesn't actually respond to the field control and they have to get it fixed partway through the event. Now, going back to something I mentioned the last time, the 3-3 ties, Vex has finally fixed that issue completely. So if you have 3-3 ties over and over and over again, because neither robot can score a ring, I mean, watch my video if you haven't already seen that, but after 2 ties in a non-finals match, so if you're like eliminations, round of 16 through semifinals, and you have robots that can't score, which is most likely, I mean, realistically, this is going to occur between an 8 seed and a 9 seed in a round of 16 matchup. If you have all 4 robots they can't score, after the first match, they play it again, and then if there's been 2 ties in a row, then the red seed or higher seed will just advance. But then for finals, which please do not let a tournament happen in which you have a finals match and none of the robots in finals match can score. Please do not let that happen. But if this were to happen, then you get 3 tries, which I wish it wasn't. Like if you're at finals and nobody can score rings, can we just go home, please? But anyway, so small thing. You can manually use the Vex competition switch to control for things for practice matches and skills matches, just to kind of save needing a tournament manager person at the skills field necessarily. And they added this for leagues. So I guess now for qualifications for leagues, you don't actually need to have field control. You can just run everything off a competition switch, which I guess is nice for leagues. I haven't really been to one, but just the quick setup aspect of that, I guess it makes it a little bit nicer. It's a small word change for RST4. You can see now it says if meets all of the following criteria. It didn't say that before. I guess somebody was arguing that at some competition, so the GDC fixed it. And then Vexu Buddy Climb buff, because Vexu Buddy Climb was not already powerful enough at 36 points. We now have extra protections. So like I was talking about earlier in the video, if you are like grasped onto the ladder at all, you get those protections. The other robots can't go and attempt to knock you off. Now the buddy robot that is not touching the ladder but is being lifted up by the other robot that is touching the ladder is now also considered safe. You can see point D was not there before. So extra protections for Vexu Buddy Climb. As a Vexu Tier 3 Buddy Climb enthusiast, I do enjoy this. That wraps it up for this video. Honestly, there wasn't a whole lot to this manual update, so pretty quick video. But if you enjoy this content and you want to keep seeing more of it, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.